All right. Hello and welcome back to Level Up with Loraine. Today I am so excited because one of my very good friends is with me, and we are going to be talking about transitioning from one version of yourself to another. Now, she will focus, specifically on her personal journey, and we will we'll deep dive into that, but it's really a topic that relates to anyone who's ever had to level up in terms of a position in your life, whether you were a teammate and had to become a manager, whether, like my friend, you were a single girl and now you've had to change your lifestyle, and because she's recently, gotten married, or whatever the case may be, where you've had to change, or maybe not change, but transition and morph into a better version of yourself. So, without wasting time, welcome, Zola.
Hi, Loraine. Thank you so much for having me on this episode. I'm so excited, nervous, but excited.
Please don't be nervous. You already know the things. Like, come
Yeah. No, I'm relaxed. I have my drink in hand, so let's make it flow. Let's make it fun.
Awesome. Actually, yes. I mean, I always tell my listeners to grab a drink of their choice. So, guys, grab a drink of your choice, get cozy, and let's get started. So,
Yeah.
without wasting time, Zola, please introduce yourself. Tell my listeners a bit about yourself, a short sort of bio, where we met, even, right? And why this topic excites you.
Okay, so I think this is one topic that is very close to my heart. Like you already mentioned, that I have been transitioning in so many different areas of my life. So my name, first of all, is Zola. Used to be Jojo, but now Mathonsi, since I'm a Mrs. I am someone who is I think I can describe myself as a glow getter, not even just a go getter, but a glow getter. I'm that person
Oh,
that's interested in everything. I want to know what's trending. I want to know how I can get better. I want to know how to look. So I've always been that person.
yeah.
I am someone who is a friend. I am a sister. I am a manager, or some people's manager. So these are the hats in my life. And I'm looking forward to more and more hats to be worn in my life. So I'm excited at the prospect of new things and at the prospect of what is going to be unearthed, even from this discussion. I know my mind is going to be opened to discovering different things that I might already be doing and could be doing. So, yes, I'm excited to jump on it.
Yeah. No, it's actually funny because that you mentioned that you used to be a manager. So just for those who may not know, I used to work with Zola at Unilever. That's where we met. We were both single ladies. We were both, young and vibrant and out here, right? Living our best lives professionally, personally, in every capacity. So that's how we know each other. I've known her from when she was a team member, like I mentioned, to when she actually had to, grow into a manager and take care of people. And we'll talk about that. But I think the biggest, sort of driver for why you're my second guest, right, is what you spoke about in terms of you being a glow getter. You really are that person who has encouraged me in my journey. And I've seen you in your different journeys doing different fun, gigs and getting out of your comfort zone and stretching
Yeah.
yourself. And you've been one of my biggest sort of supporters. So thank you. And it was natural and very an easy decision for me that you would be the person that I talk to about this topic. So just to remind the listeners, we're talking about transitioning from one version of yourself into another, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about when you were single. Tell us about when you were single, Zola, and yeah, what was that like? Give us a glimpse into that life.
Okay, awesome. And I think before I jump into the single version of Zola, I should mention that I've known you for 8 years. It feels
Wow.
like it
Let's,
just blinked and it's like
it's
almost
a
a
lifetime.
decade.
It's a lifetime. I need loyalty points or something.
You know what I'm saying? There should be a pay, royalties for friendship. So anyway, the single version of Zola, I have always been someone who I think I took myself too seriously as the single version of myself.
Yeah.
I was the type of girl that would make a list. You know, those girls like, I want a person like this. I'm not going to get married to a person who's not like this. They should be tall. I had all these crazy lists, and
Yeah.
everyone used to tell me, not realistic. The
Yeah.
person who's going to come into your life and sweep you off your feet, you don't even have a view of what they're going to be like.
Yeah.
So I was all, I don't take this nonsense. I've suffered enough in this dating life. I was always about suffering too much in this dating life. So dating wise, I was always wearing my, I don't want anyone to mess with me. I don't want anyone to take me for granted. I'm tired. I know what I want. I got my list. Yeah, that's the side. And the social side, basically, apart from the dating side, I was enjoying myself. I lived my best life. I won't lie. I lived in a one-bed apartment in Mondale in Harare. A place I remember the first time I actually went to view the place. And I called you. I said, Loraine, there's a place that I want to stay in. We need to go and have a look at it. And then, so you came by, you're like, oh, I love this place. It's going to be dope. And where you used to stay. So it was perfect. This was going to be our link spots and everything. Boom. The next day, I call the realtor and they say to me, sorry, there's someone else who already paid for that apartment. We are going to give you another one, which was less Lani. So hello, it wasn't going to work. I remember you saying, we are going to bind that person. They will not into this apartment. It is ours. So yeah, from that day onwards, we just said we bind this apartment. The person who's already paid their deposit is not coming.
Yeah.
And month end, the person who paid their deposit did not come.
Yeah.
So the apartment was mine. We moved in. I moved in. It was such an exciting time. I always used to love cooking, in as much as I lived alone.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I tried Thai food in Harare is because of you. So it was like, let's go and have a workout in Bordel, do our thing. Afterwards, we just get a Thai meal. So that's some of the stuff I think about when I think of the single version of me. That anytime get it. Whether we're going to the gym, we're going shopping, we're trying new food, we are going out dancing. It was always that fun stuff. It was always like up and up. I mean, it was the big city, so it was like up and up. That was very for me. And I think it also was a bit lonely if you think of it, because a lot of us who left our own like immediate families, like parents, siblings in other cities just to go to Harare to seek employment stuff. So our only family were actually the group of friends that we had. And there were different dynamics in those groups. So you know how it is with ladies growing up. We have a certain number of friends and we get more friends in varsity. We get more friends at work. So now we're trying to juggle all the different characters and all the different friends within that framework. So yeah, that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Quite up and down, but very, very interesting at the same time. So that's what I can remember most vividly about the single version of being Zola. Getting it, being free, laying the law on the lists, which never worked.
Oh, I know. And you know, it's funny, right? Because like you're saying, we had such freedom, right? We had a lot of freedom. The world was our oyster. If we wanted to travel, we would travel. If we wanted to go out, we would go out. If we, wanted to eat out, we would eat out. Let's talk about sort of the transition, right? Whilst we're on that point of freedom and this and that, let's talk about the transition and the change now that there's someone else in your life. Now that you're married, right? What are some of the changes? How painful has it been, or how liberating has it been, or how has it been refreshingly maybe different than you expected it to be? Share some of that.
Okay, so I think the first thing I will mention about transitioning from being single into being married is that list, and that I would never, I'm not that is out the window immediately. Immediately, there is no, I will never, because you will be tested in so many different ways. And not because of the relationship and the other person, but because of yourself. Your mind has to stretch beyond, because now you can't think for yourself. Everything that you do and everything that you say, you have to be cognizant of the other person and how that would affect them. So there was a lot of mental shift for me to say, okay, this is no longer the I version of myself and moving into the we. So that was quite a journey to say, okay, fine. So now that I've always been alone, living alone, cooking alone, traveling alone, how do I fit the next person into this framework without feeling like they're intruding on my space? So that was the first biggest thing. So I think I always say this to people who ask me about getting married. If I had gotten married 10 years before now, it was going to be an epic disaster. I was going to be saying too much. I was going to be complaining about too much. I was going to be nervous about too much. So I'm actually, I got married, when my mind was a bit more mature and I was a bit more in myself. And I've always heard this saying that, like the biblical saying, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And it strikes me because it doesn't say he who finds a woman finds a good thing. Because when that person finds you, you are already a wife, if it makes sense. So you're someone who's already been training yourself in being a wife. And first of all, submitting doesn't happen naturally. Submitting happens because you've been inspired by the other person to submit to them. You're inspired by their vision for their own life. You're inspired by the vision that they can create for your family. You're inspired by how they conduct their work, how they just conduct themselves around other people. So I think that was a very, very big thing for me to say. I thought to myself before getting married, how do I just submit? What if this person's got the wrong ideology? It always falls into place when the right person comes into your life. And they will inspire you to submit, because submission should not be forced. Someone is going to inspire you from the way that they lead for you to follow. So I'm glad that I got that part of it. And my husband always says to me, there's so many things that you think of that I would have never thought about. I had no idea my mind can stretch that much, but it's very important for your mind to keep on thinking of new things and just innovating. Because I mean, now you have to give someone advice about their own stuff. They will ask you to say, what do you think I should do maybe in a work situation? So you can't be in the air and in the moon to say, oh, well, I don't know. I've never done occupational health and safety. I'm in sales, so deal. So it's always that constantly having to upgrade myself. There's some stuff that I actually have to Google to find out more about what he's on about, so I can actually have an input.
So
because I
yourself in shoes,
I have no idea what anime is all about. So I have to Google all these Naruto and all these very weird things now, and I have to be reading Japanese, like English subtitles, because I mean, anime, apparently all of them is in Japanese. I think most of them anyway. So I had to really move away from my own hobbies, get into his hobbies, and learn more about that. So that's on the social side. And then on the mental side, I think for me, like I said, I was someone who believed in lists and, I don't want a person like this, and all that. So I think at that time, I never got around to saying, okay, so while I'm making a list of what I don't want, what do I actually want? Because that's important. Before you actually transition into being a wife, you have to decide, I want to be a wife to a person who's like this, with these qualities, a godly person, a person that's patient, a person that can actually still engage when they're angry, a person that is kind, a person that is respectful to you, to their own parents and siblings, because it's an image of how they are going to be with you and your family and siblings. So that's another thing. I had to actually say, okay, I'm actually happy with the type of person that my husband is.
It is a number of parallels, right, that can be sort of derived from exactly what you've spoken about with marriage to even in the workplace. So what similarities would you say are there from when you transitioned from a single girl to a married lady to when you were Zola, the individual contributor, versus Zola, the manager, right? Because even with management comes having to trust someone else, delegating, letting go as much as maybe you can do that task in probably less time than they can. They need to learn. Now their growth is in your hands. So you cannot be selfish and withhold the work. You have to trust and delegate. They also, so there's a lot of things that you said, but I'll let you speak for yourself. What are some of the parallels that you see in those two dynamics?
Okay, so basically for me, my most or strongest qualification or role that I've held to date is key account management, which is basically relationship management. So it's exactly relationship management in a professional setup and relationship management in a relationship social type of setup. So I've had to use that same concept because communication, first of all, is the most important thing. Because one, someone is not particularly in your head. And just as you would do in a work situation, whether you are the subordinate or you are the line manager, you have to communicate effectively and in full for someone to really get what you are talking about. The fact that we are all coming from different backgrounds, we are all having different perceptions about the same kind of issues. We might actually see that this is, one thinks it's orange, one thinks it's red. So there's always importance in specifying exactly what you think about a situation and what you know about a situation, and also understanding that you do not know everything.
Right.
And as much as you're communicating, you do not know everything. So you shouldn't step forward to say, I'm speaking one way and you must understand me.
Yeah.
In the professional setup, you have to allow communication to be two sides. You speak, and when the message is understood and then it's responded to, but you also do not know how that message is going to be received.
Yeah.
Just as you do in an email, someone might say your email sounded too harsh.
Yeah.
So sometimes you speak to someone and you mean well, but the way it is delivered or it lands, it comes off as harsh.
Yeah.
And that might change how they respond to what you're saying. And then this is how fights begin because of the tone message. So now you're saying, why did you say this to me? And you're thinking, I'm just being normal. I'm telling you, this is what I like, this is what I don't like.
Yeah.
But you sound like patronizing, you sound like you're bullying, you sound like all the things that are actually not smiled upon in the professional setting. So biggest of all, communication.
Whilst we're on that, actually, on communication, right? What are some of the mistakes you made based on communication, either when you got married or when you became a manager, right? In those transitions, what communication challenges or mistakes did you make that you had to learn from? Could you give us some examples, maybe?
I think one example I can give right now is I'm always that person who thinks I communicate very well. I think someone understand me when I speak once, and once is enough. I've always been the type of manager to say, I don't want to micromanage you. I don't want to follow you. If I tell you once, you should have understood.
Yeah.
So the minute that you come back to me once, it's okay. I can reiterate what I said. You come back to me twice. The third time, I start to get annoyed. Like, how are you not getting
what's happening?
So this has always been my problem. But it's not everyone who understands something off the bat, and they don't understand the way you mean it to be understood. So you can't be short-tempered and you can't be short-sighted when you're dealing with other people when you're in a managerial role. You need to continuously educate. You need to continuously engage. You need to continuously upgrade how you speak to people, because you might think you are being clear, but someone doesn't understand. And some of the terminology that you're using, these big terms, these acronyms, just stop using the acronyms. Just stop using until someone is comfortable enough to say, okay, I understand when you're using this acronym, what it means. And usually when your relationship is graduating to having had it for longer, some things unspoken. You actually get me from the way I respond. And that's the same thing with marriage.
Yeah.
You tell someone thing and maybe they don't really want to do it that way. So they won't quickly jump in and say, yeah, let me do it that way. And that's like in the workplace and in the marriage, there's egos at play. You can't just be coming to say, okay, so this is what we're doing. This is, it's always to be. So what do you think of this? So as a manager, I had to learn that. Say, when I bring an idea to my team, it's to say, I'm giving you a top-down type of approach. I'm giving you a brainstorming session to say, this is the idea that I have for how we can make our work better. So what do you think? Yes, I've got the sole decision to say this is it, but it's important to make someone feel like they are part of the decision making. It makes the decision easier, just like we do in marriage.
Yeah.
Make him think,
is his. And it's so funny, but it's so true. Like literally, the both are so closely related because relationship management is relationship management. Like you said, it doesn't matter in what setting you're in. And so when you transition from being, like I said, an individual contributor or a single girl, just being independent to having to do group work in quotes, right? Teamwork, that is difficult. But what I wanted to harp on was the co-creation, right? Of even if it's manager to peer, to subordinate, you don't tell them what to do. You have to co-create so that they have a sense of ownership, so that they see that task or that deliverable through. Same thing with marriage, right? You cannot wake up and say, I'm going to Zanzibar, right?
No.
Let's look at the finances. Okay, it doesn't work this month. It doesn't work next month. When can it work, right?
Yes.
You agree. Does this work with your schedule? Will this, inconvenience you? Okay, great. Let's do it in 3 months' time. So there's that co-creation and alignment that may not be easy. So any other challenges you want to share besides communication and that we should highlight before I jump into the next?
A second challenge for me is seeking permission on certain things. I think you've already introduced that in your recent comment to say you can't just off the bat make a decision. You can't actually go out and buy a coffee table without saying, what do you think of this table? Because it's no longer your house, just your house. It's our house. So even in the workplace, you can't say, guys, tomorrow we are deciding that our customers are going to do such and such. And someone thinks, but I promised the customer something else, especially if you have a support. Now you've crushed their initiative because you're telling them the one way of, no, you're not doing that. We are doing this. It usually fails dismally.
Yeah.
So all this asking for permission, well, maybe asking for permission is not putting it the right way. Permission is not the right. It's more of a co-creation type of point to say, let's discuss, let's engage, and then we reach a consensus to say this works. Because my idea might be best in my mind, your idea might be best in your mind, but if we can meet in the middle and simmer down to one idea that suits both of us, I think that's another big one. And I think a third challenge that I met up with in the workplace and in marriage type of thing, it's not always about two of you. Even if you're working or discussing something, just the two of you, it always spills over to other people.
Yeah.
In the organization, it might spill over to peers who don't necessarily like you for some reason. It might spill over to someone in a higher position than you, who also might not like your way of doing things or your way of thinking. Similarly, even if you want to do something, the two of you, there's always relatives. There's always the in-laws. There's always the siblings. There's always outside forces that actually affect the inside.
Yeah.
So in as much as you are having the discussion and the relationship is between the two of you, there are other factors to be considered, which play a very active role in the inside. So it's not only about managing this one-on-one relationship. It's about managing all the relationships that form your union. It's like driving. No one can tell you that you have to put your clutch down and then you have to change the gears and accelerate and balance. But it's exactly like that. You don't tell someone to do it, but how you learn how to do it is the more you do it. You keep on balancing it out until it becomes norm.
Yeah.
So it won't be crazy to say, okay, so are we visiting mom today? Are we visiting mom from your side or my side? So if we're buying Christmas presents for mom this side, we have to buy Christmas presents for mom that side. It has to be fair. It has to be pretty much equivalent, because sometimes, like in the workspace, there's someone that you are more inclined to. You like them so much more. So even the way you speak with them, even the way you conduct yourself with them, you are more like friends. So things are done easier because you're flowing, relationship flowing. So other people might look at that relationship and say, this favoritism, which is not allowed.
Yeah. You have to be objective.
So it's someone is liked more than, and you're trying to explain, no, it's not that I like that person more. Maybe we have similar characteristics. That's why we seem like we blend more, but still you can't show that in a work setting. Just like you can't show that in a marriage situation to say, why do we like Tete this one more than we like Tete that one? It's not.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is be hyper aware, right? Be very sensitive to the different dynamics, because you're used to your own dynamics as your single person or your individual contributor in the team, but then there's different dynamics that comes with you working closely with another person, or being married, or not even just being married, but having a partner, whatever your situation may be. You now need to be hypersensitive, hyper aware of some of those forces, the external forces you spoke about, how they impact the relationship, and how you can make sure that it doesn't impact it negatively, but more for your benefit.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So just to recap, we are talking about transitioning from one version of yourself to another, and hopefully a better version, right? And whether you're moving from being a single girl to being married, or living with a partner, or being an individual contributor in a team to being a manager, both those situations and more, right, that we haven't mentioned, come with a lot of and sort of a requirement for you to shift your mindset. So some of the things we've spoken about is shifting your mindset and embracing that change, understanding that you have to communicate, and there's a lot of co-creation that needs, and as well as being hypersensitive and self-aware that it's no longer about you. There are a lot of dynamics that come with change, and being as objective and honest with yourself and those around you as possible. And so this moves me into maybe the next thing I wanted to discuss with you around this topic, which is maybe patience, right? Being kind to yourself, because this is not easy. Personal growth takes time and it takes effort, and a lot of people fail, right? And we either break up, go through divorce, particularly in those very early stages of marriage or partnership, or they end up going to disciplinary, or are moved back to being individual contributors because it just didn't work out as a manager. Let me talk about that process, that very sensitive process, but particularly with regards to the individual, with you, Zola. The things you needed to do for yourself, and to show yourself kindness in the process, to be patient with yourself, so that you're not quick to want to already see big wins and great happiness, but understand that this is actually a complex change. Of those practical things. I mean, some people will tell you, take time for yourself, because you were single for a long time, and so time for yourself, and find that space where you can still enjoy the things you used to enjoy. So what are some of those things you used to do for yourself, or that you still continue to do for yourself, to show kindness to yourself and grace and patience, as you grow into these new roles?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I had to learn, both professionally and mostly in marriage, in a way to be kind to myself, is to be mindful of my mental speak. So the more you get into a problem with another person, you get into an argument with another person, it's fine that you stand your ground, but at some point you find yourself constantly being on the wrong side. And then you start thinking, maybe I'm actually useless at this thing. Maybe I'm actually not the right person to be in this thing. I shouldn't be a manager. What made me actually be a manager? I don't remember what made me get here. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe I actually don't deserve to be here. And I think a lot of women experience that, especially in early marriage. You keep on saying to yourself, maybe I'm not the right person, because why isn't this person like just getting it like immediately? Or why am I not getting it? Because I constantly get back to this person with the same complaint. Is it that I'm not getting them? Am I the right person? Am I understanding them enough? What do I need to do? So it's very easy to get caught up in the I'm a failure.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when I fail even further? What are people going to say about me? When you look at yourself in the mirror, you just think you are just doing it all wrong. Why did you say that? Why did you do that? Especially after an argument, you always have the I'm a failure. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? So I had to stop and say to myself, you are not a failure in anything, because everything that you go through in your life, you grow through. So that pain is actually part of the growth, because if you don't go through this pain, you will never grow. It's like faith. Someone tells you to believe in something, but you can't show your belief in something unless it's tested. So once you are tested to say, do you actually believe it? When you're shown that it's not working. So why do you believe it? Because it's not working. But you have to have intrinsic sense of, this is me. The ideology that I am able, I am strong, I am the head, I'm not the tail, I am in the right place, I am standing here strong because I'm meant to be here. I actually had to do a lot of that to say, I'm in the right place. I am the person. I am better than I used to be yesterday. I'm here not by mistake, but by design. So that was a very for me. The speech that I would give myself in my mind had to strengthen, not destroy.
Yeah. And it's always that in your head, right? It's really always that voice in your head, you being your biggest critic, that you experience self-doubt, always experience maybe whatever imposter syndrome, whether it's at work or in your marriage or in any relationship, that I'm the screw up here. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I? And it's the battle is against that voice and nothing else. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Very true.
All right. So anything else you want to share with us? I mean, we know that transitioning from one version of yourself to another is a natural part of life. It will happen from in different stages of your life, in professional and, personal settings. But embracing change, reflecting on what it is you want out of this situation. Is it going to make you better? Communicating and making sure that you are co-creating and aligning, with whether it's your partner, your husband, or your colleagues at work, or your subordinates, and learning from your mistakes and being patient. So with time and effort, you can become the best version of yourself. Is there anything else, Zola, that you want to share that you feel would really wrap up this conversation nicely? Do you feel like you've missed anything? Do you feel like we need to focus or deep dive into anything else, or we've covered it all?
I think we've pretty much covered it all, but I definitely want to add this to say, in everything that we've spoken about today, it's ideally about the inner game. Everything is about you. Whether you're in a relationship at work or in marriage or with a partner, it all starts with your inner game. We all have a lot of fear in our lives, and a lot of people, a lot of past traumas that they grew up with that stop us from being great, because we all hide behind this is how I am. But the fact that this is how you are doesn't mean that's how you're supposed to be. So that's the biggest thing that we are all afraid to say. Yes, it's how you are. You've grown up this way. You've built yourself this way. But it's not the way that you're supposed to be. You can be better.
Yeah.
So we all have to fight back that fear to say, yes, you are fine the way you are, but you could actually be better. So stop procrastinating on your goals. Stop speaking back when someone is giving you constructive criticism. Stop being afraid to actually say, it's not a bad thing to hear negative feedback. It's actually good, because that's how you get better. How do you change something you don't know is the problem. So inner game is your biggest strength. Look inside so that you can look outside with a better and clearer view. I think that's what I can add.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So to my listeners, this is Zola Mathonsi, who has spent the past few minutes with us talking about transitioning from one version of herself into another. Zola, where can my listeners connect with you? Right? I know she's also a businesswoman, guys. She does a lot of stuff. So she always finds a way to turn her hobbies into businesses or monetizing, etc. So she loves makeup and she's got a business around makeup. I'll let you speak about that. She loves to cook and she's starting a business around cooking and sharing that. I'll let you speak and bring that to life as well. And everything else you may want to share with my listeners, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Loraine, for having me on this episode. It's been eye-opening for myself as well. Like I said, I've learned so many things. I'm actually going to be sharing with my husband. I hope he's ready to take some notes from my discussion. So I think definitely gratitude is what I will lead with right now. But like you said, someone who's big on creativity stuff. So right now I've been pushing my makeup business. I am now into doing makeup tutorials. So ladies, gents, people who actually want to book some classes to learn how to go brows on fleek, have your daily for work and everything. Because I mean, it's always good to upgrade those kind of skills. I'm available on my makeup page, which is Beat by Miss D, and that's on Instagram. So it's like BEAT by Miss D, which is MISSDEE. And on my Instagram, my cooking page is What's Cooking, Good Looking. And the good is spelled GUD, so I know you won't get lost. And then my Instagram, which is my lifestyle page, where I share my travel, my, all the hobbies that I like to get up to when I'm not busy with cooking or makeup. That one is Zola _ Mrs. Math. And that's the same one on TikTok, Zola _ Mrs. Math. So guys, thank you so much. Hope to be hearing everyone soon. And it's been great.
Awesome. Thank you. I will definitely pin and tag all those pages in the description box below this episode. Thank you so much, Madame. To all my listeners, if you're hearing this message, you've made it to the very end of my episode. And for that, I am truly thankful. If you liked it, please subscribe, hit the notification button, rate, review, give me feedback, guys. Hit me up with feedback. I really want to grow and to learn, and feedback is a gift to me, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much. Until the next episode, goodbye, and continue to level up.